On a stormy night, a mysterious carriage arrived at his door, carrying a patient in unbearable pain. But something about them felt wrong. No faces, no voices, no fear of the storm. What happened that night would change his life forever. Now let's begin the story. These are some extremely chilling and mysterious incidents from the life of Farouk Bai's grandfather. Stories that he heard directly from him. The events are such that, once you hear them, a cold shiver will run down your spine. At every turn of this story, there are hidden truths we usually refuse to believe. But when darkness falls, that disbelief itself becomes our greatest fear. Farouk Bai's grandfather was a highly respected and traditional hakim, herbal physician. His reputation was not limited to his own locality. People from far and wide would come to him in hopes of finding relief. The incident took place in a remote and ancient village, surrounded by dense, pitch-black forests, uneven hills, and endless tea gardens. Even during the day, the village had an eerie atmosphere, and at night, its appearance would completely transform into something far more unsettling. His entire life was dedicated to this practice of healing. From his youth to the final days of his old age, he continued serving people. He prepared medicines using leaves, tree bark, roots, and various wild herbs. To collect these rare ingredients, he often had to venture deep into ancient forests. These forests were so dangerous that ordinary people were afraid to enter them even during daylight. But to him, the forest was a storehouse of medicine. He possessed rare ancient books of herbal knowledge, following whose formulas and diagrams he could prepare medicines that even modern doctors would find astonishing. Even in old age, he did not give up his profession. His experience had grown so profound that just by observing a patient's movement, skin tone, and eyes, he could determine what illness had taken hold of their body. There was something particularly dangerous about collecting these herbs. Many poisonous plants in the forest look exactly like beneficial medicinal ones. A slight mistake could turn medicine into deadly poison. That is why he never entrusted this risky task to anyone else. He always went himself. However, due to old age, he could no longer travel to distant forests like before. Instead, he tried to collect the necessary ingredients from smaller forests near the village. The incident began one day while he was on such a trip. That day, in search of a specific herb, he went deeper into the forest beyond the village boundary. The place was damp and dense, and due to the tall trees, sunlight could barely reach the ground. Just as he finished his search and was preparing to leave the forest, something suddenly felt very strange. The usual sounds of the jungle, birds chirping, insects buzzing, leaves rustling, everything stopped in an instant. A heavy, suffocating silence took over the entire forest. A sense of unease began to grow inside him. He quickened his pace. And then, suddenly, he saw an old woman standing right in front of him. In that deep forest, where human presence was almost forbidden, the sight of an old man standing there startled him. The man was dressed in a spotless white robe, with a pitch-black cloth wrapped around his head. His gaze was fixed on the ground, and he did not make eye contact in any way. The unnatural silence of the surroundings, along with the mysterious presence of the old man, filled him with a deep sense of fear. Suddenly, in a calm yet serious voice, the old man spoke. He greeted him and said, "Hakim Sahib, in a few days someone will come to you for treatment. Please treat him. We know that you are a kind and skilled healer, and that you often come to this forest. If you treat him, no harm will come to you. Instead, it will be a great act of kindness." For the first few moments, he could not understand anything. His mind struggled to process the sudden situation. Almost in a daze, he replied, "Yes, all right, I will treat him." He wanted to ask who the old man was, where he had come from, and who the patient was. But before he could even blink, the man in white vanished into thin air, as if no one had ever been there. At that moment, he realized he had not spoken to an ordinary human being. A cold chill ran down his spine. He did not stay there for another second. He quickly left the forest and returned straight home. But from that day on, his health began to decline. A strange fever and a feeling of uneasiness surrounded him. Still, he understood one thing clearly, that the patient the old man had mentioned would surely come one day. And so he waited for that strange night. A few days later, one night, a terrifying storm began. Nature seemed to unleash its full fury. Strong winds howled, and heavy rain poured down relentlessly. The noise of the storm was so loud that it drowned out everything else. The entire village shut themselves indoors, doors and windows tightly closed. Even animals hid in safe places trying to survive. It was around 10 p.m., already considered deep night, especially under such dangerous conditions. Darkness covered everything. There was no electricity. At that moment, a loud and violent knocking echoed on the wooden door of his house. Someone was banging on the door like a madman. Farouk Bai's uncle, who was staying with him at the time, was startled. According to village belief, if someone knocked on a healer's door at such a late hour during a storm, it meant the situation was extremely serious. Someone must be on the brink of death. He thought perhaps someone in the village was in great danger. From inside, he shouted, "Who is it? Who's there at this hour?" But no reply came, only the roaring wind and heavy rain. After calling out several times and getting no answer, he took a large umbrella and a hurricane lantern and walked slowly across the yard toward the main door. As soon as he opened the latch and pulled the door open, what he saw was enough to drain all the blood from his face. He saw that right outside the door, in the middle of the raging storm, a horse carriage was standing. But the carriage itself was extremely unusual. It looked like the old royal carriages of ancient landlords, completely covered on all sides with thick curtains. Several men were sitting on top of it. Even in such heavy rain, they showed no reaction at all. From inside the carriage, the painful groaning of a person could be heard. It was clear that someone inside was suffering from unbearable pain. The uncle, slightly startled, asked, "Who are you? Where have you come from at this hour?" One of the men sitting on top replied in a deep, mechanical voice, "We are travelers from afar. We have come from a very distant place. Our patient is in a critical condition. We want your father to treat him." Trying to handle the situation, the uncle said, "Look, it is very late at night, and there is a severe storm outside. My father is an elderly man. He may have already gone to sleep. You can stay in our outer room tonight. In the morning, he will treat the patient." But the men refused. One of them said firmly, "No, we do not have time to wait. Our patient is in great pain. He will not be able to endure it much longer. Please allow us to go inside. You go and check. He is awake." That last sentence sounded very strange to the uncle. You go and check. He is awake. How could they be so certain that he was awake? A sense of fear began to grow inside him. Still, out of humanity, he did not refuse. He said, "All right, let me see what can be done." He quickly went inside the house and walked straight to his father's room. As he reached the door and knocked, a calm voice came from inside. "Who is at the door? Who has come?" Surprised, the uncle entered the room and saw that his father was not lying in bed. Instead, he was sitting upright on a chair in the dim light of a fading lantern. The uncle said, "Father, you are still awake? You never stay up this late. Normally, you go to sleep by 9. In a slow, calm voice, he replied, "I knew a patient would come tonight. I was waiting for them." Hearing this, the uncle became even more astonished. The men outside somehow knew he was awake, and he himself already knew they would arrive. The whole situation felt as if it was connected by some invisible thread. The uncle said, "They are saying the patient is in terrible pain. They want treatment immediately." He nodded his head. The uncle then opened the main door completely and told the men, "Bring the patient inside." But the men placed a very strange condition. They said, "You open the door and go inside. We will bring the patient in ourselves. You must not stay here." Without arguing, the uncle opened the outer sitting room, which was slightly separated from the main house. He placed the lantern there and was about to return inside when he saw his father approaching the sitting room. His face was extremely serious. He stopped the uncle and gave a strict instruction. "Listen carefully. Go inside the house right now. Whatever happens tonight, do not come into this room unless I call you myself. Stay inside for the entire night. Do you understand?" The uncle agreed, but this strict instruction made him uneasy. Normally, when a serious patient arrived, his father would ask him to stay and assist. But today he was forbidding him so firmly. He did not dare to ask any questions and quietly went inside. Carrying the lantern, his father entered the sitting room. After a short while, the men brought the patient inside and laid him down on a wooden platform. They greeted him respectfully, and he calmly returned the greeting. No one looked directly into each other's eyes. The patient was a young man. His condition was horrifying. From the knee down, the bones in his leg were completely shattered and had pierced through the flesh, sticking out visibly. Normally, blood should have been pouring out, but strangely, there was no bleeding at all. Only the torn muscles were clumped together around the exposed bone. The young man writhed in pain, letting out inhuman groans. He saw that right outside the door, in the middle of heavy rain, a horse carriage was standing. But the carriage was very unusual. Like the old carriages of kings and landlords, it was completely covered on all sides with thick curtains. A few people were sitting on top of it. Even in such intense rain, they showed no reaction at all. From inside the carriage came the extremely painful sound of a man's voice. It was clear that someone was writhing in terrible agony. Uncle, a bit startled, asked, "Who are you? Where have you come from at this hour?" One of the men sitting on top of the carriage replied in a very serious, almost mechanical voice, "We are strangers. We have come from far away. Our patient is in very bad condition. We want your father to treat him." Trying to manage the situation, Uncle said, "Look, it's very late and there is a severe storm outside. My father is very old. He has probably gone to sleep by now. You can stay in the outer room tonight. He will treat the patient in the morning." But the men did not agree. One of them said firmly, "No, we don't have time to wait. Our patient is in extreme pain. He won't be able to endure much longer. Please let us go inside. And you should check if he is awake." That last sentence sounded strange to Uncle. Go and check if he is awake. How were they so sure that his father might be awake? A strange fear began to grow in his mind. Out of humanity, he did not resist further. He said, "All right, I'll see what can be done," and quickly went inside the house. He went straight to his father's room and knocked on the door. Before he could even knock properly, his father's calm voice came from inside. "Who is at the door? Who's outside?" Uncle entered the room in surprise. He saw that his father was not lying in bed but sitting upright on a chair in the dim light of a lantern. Uncle said, "Father, you're still awake? You usually don't stay up this late. Normally, you sleep by 9. His father replied slowly, "I knew a patient would come tonight. I was waiting for them." Hearing this, Uncle became even more astonished. The people outside had also seemed certain that his father was awake. It felt as if everything was connected by some invisible thread. Uncle said, "They are saying the patient is in severe pain and needs treatment immediately." His father nodded. Uncle then opened the outer door fully and told them to bring the patient inside. But the men placed a strange condition. They said, "You open the door and go inside. We will bring the patient ourselves. You should not stay here." Without arguing, Uncle opened the outer sitting room, which was slightly separate from the main house. As he was about to go back inside, he saw his father approaching the room with a serious expression. His father stopped him and said sternly, "Listen, go inside the house now. No matter what happens tonight, you must not enter this room unless I call you. Stay inside the whole night. Remember this." Uncle agreed, though this strict instruction worried him. Usually, his father would ask for help during serious cases, but tonight he forbade it completely. Uncle didn't dare ask any questions and quietly went inside. His father entered the sitting room with the lantern. Shortly after, the men brought the patient inside and laid him on a wooden platform. They greeted his father respectfully, and he returned the greeting. No one looked directly at each other. The patient was a young man in a horrifying condition. The bone below his knee had completely broken and pierced through the skin. Strangely, although there should have been heavy bleeding, there was no blood at all, just exposed bone and clotted flesh. The young man groaned in unbearable pain. His father calmly said, "There's nothing to fear. It will be fine soon." The men stood silently like statues in the corner. Before starting treatment, his father examined the leg in the lantern light and noticed something unusual. There was no normal human hair on it. Instead, the entire leg was covered in thick, coarse hair like that of a wild animal. Without showing any fear, he carefully began cutting the hair with scissors. The hair was so tough that it took effort to cut through it. After that, the real task began. He had to force the broken bone back into place. As he pushed it in firmly, the young man let out a horrifying sound that did not seem human at all. It was louder than the storm outside. Yet the men in the corner did not move at all. Once the bone was set, his father tightly bound the area with herbal bark and bamboo strips, then applied a special ointment. As soon as the treatment was completed, the young man's groaning suddenly stopped, and a calm expression appeared on his face. The entire process took about 45 minutes. During this time, his father never once looked directly at the men, and they stood in a way that kept their faces hidden from the light. After finishing, he gave the patient some medicine for pain relief. The men then placed a bag in front of him and said, "Hakim Sahib, this is your payment." They politely took their leave, lifted the patient onto their shoulders, and disappeared into the darkness. There was no sound of carriage wheels or horses, only the noise of the storm. His father closed the door and came inside. He instructed everyone strictly, "No one is to enter that room before morning. I will go there first myself." The next morning, everything was eerily calm after the storm, but Uncle found his father burning with fever. Despite that, he got up stubbornly and went straight to the sitting room. Uncle followed him. When the door was opened, the sight inside shocked Uncle. The entire floor was covered with piles of thick black hair, far too much to belong to any human. It looked as if a large wild animal had been shaved there. Even more terrifying, there was not a single drop of blood anywhere, despite such a severe injury. The thought of a bloodless surgery sent chills down Uncle's spine. In one corner of the room, there were several large clay pots neatly arranged, filled with sweets. As Uncle was about to say something, his father turned and scolded him sharply. "Why are you standing here? Didn't I tell you not to come in before me? Step back. Don't enter until I clean this place completely." Despite his high fever, his father took a large sack and began collecting every strand of hair by hand. He carefully picked up each one and filled the sack, then swept the room thoroughly until not a single hair remained. After finishing, he called Uncle and said, "Now come inside and take these pots of sweets away." Uncle said in surprise, "Father, those people came for treatment. Why did they leave so many pots of sweets? And what is all this hair?" His father gave no answer. He was shivering with fever. Uncle helped him to his room and laid him down. Then he said, "Father, you are a Hakim yourself. Make some medicine for yourself and take it." Closing his eyes, his father replied calmly, "No, my son, this fever is not something medicine can cure. This evening, before the Maghrib call to prayer, bring the senior Malvi of our village." At that time, there was a very pious and elderly Malvi in their village, well known among the people. He lived near the edge of the village under a large ancient banyan tree. He mainly performed spiritual healing, and those affected by unseen forces would go to him. When his father asked to call the Malvi, Uncle realized that the events of the previous night were not ordinary. With fear in his voice, he asked, "Father, please tell us everything. Who were those people last night? Why was there no blood? And why did they bring those sweets?" His father only said, "I won't say anything now. Just do as I told you. Bring the Malvi before Maghrib." The entire day he spoke to no one. He ate a little and lay quietly with his eyes closed. Just before the Maghrib call to prayer, the Malvi arrived. His father asked Uncle to leave the room and closed the door. Inside, they spoke for a long time. His father explained everything and said, "Huser, those who came to me last night were not humans. They were Jinn. I treated one of them. Since Jinn and humans are completely different beings, coming so close to one and touching him has caused this intense fever in my body. Please pray for me." The Malvi recited verses from the Quran and blew over him. Then he asked, "How were you so sure they were Jinn? And why did they come to you?" His father then described the earlier incident in the forest and how a white-clad elderly Jinn had warned him beforehand. He said, "I already understood they were not ordinary humans. When they came, I did not look at their faces and they did not show them either. But they were very polite and respectful." The Malvi sighed and said, "You are very fortunate and very brave. They were surely pious and Muslim Jinn. If they had been evil or malicious, they could have harmed you at any moment. But they did not." Then his father shared another strange detail. He said, "The young Jinn I treated had been struck on the leg by an axe. He had likely taken human form and gone somewhere, where a human, perhaps in anger, attacked him with an axe. The injury was so severe that the bone had broken and come out." The Malvi then revealed a terrifying truth. He said, "Do you know why they did not seek treatment from their own kind? Because if Jinn see or touch the blood of one of their own, their primal instincts awaken. The smell of blood can make them lose control and attack, even kill and devour their own companion. For this reason, the leader of their group, the elderly Jinn in white, came to you. Because you are human, and such instincts would not affect you." He added, "Their world is much like ours. They have marriages, births, and deaths. They have clans, communities, and leaders. Some Jinn are very devout. In fact, sometimes before dawn or after the night prayer, small children come near my place. I know they are not human children, but they recite the Quran beautifully and then leave. I do not disturb them, and they do not disturb me. This is how we coexist." The Malvi visited for 3 days, reciting prayers over him. Gradually, his father's fever completely disappeared. Uncle later said that the sweets given by those beings had an indescribable taste. Never in their lives had they eaten anything so delicious. The fragrance of the sweets filled the entire house. They even shared some with villagers, but never revealed where they came from. However, after this incident, a big change came in his father's life. He never again went into that deep forest, because from then on, strange knocking sounds were often heard late at night at their main door or the sitting room. The Malvi had already warned that some evil Jinn in the area might have learned about his contact with them and might try to disturb him. So his father strictly instructed everyone, no matter how loudly someone knocked at night, no one should ever open the door. They simply ignored the sounds, and after some time, they would fade away. This was the story of Farrak's grandfather.